Hello out there in cryptocurrency land. Welcome back to Real Crypto, where we take the markets one leg at a time while keeping the market cycle in mind. And right now we have a market leg which has taken us a little bit higher. You can see on my chart here we have an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Been talking about this the past few days in the power hour and kind of getting people ready for the potential that we move higher. It looks like that we did a little bit. We did not break down. So we were looking at it over this little trend line here as your first potential entry. That is your second potential entry for a inverted head and shoulders breakout. Looks like that did occur. And we have a target sitting up here at about 66.87, give or take. Now we have to break a few key levels of resistance before we get up there. The one I'm mainly concerned with is this most recent high here at about the 65.40 level. And if we can break that, then we're probably going to hit this target up there. But just for me personally, I know I'm not really partaking in the Bitcoin movement right now. I'm really not a huge believer in Bitcoin. As long as we're underneath this 7,400 level and above the 58.75 level, I will be abstaining from any Bitcoin trading. Just doesn't make a lot of sense in either direction. The risk is too great in either direction at this particular point in time. So a couple days ago, we actually had a video and I discussed the possibility of a rally into a point where Bitcoin maybe gets shorted. And I think I can pull up my chart here. And you can see right here with this long and short graph, not a whole lot has happened. We actually had the shorts drop just a little bit on this rally, but I would assume as we get higher, if this very smart short seller, where is he, right here, if this guy steps back into the market, then maybe that would be a very good sign that we're going to go lower. So if we go higher, start to pause a little bit, rising on low volume in the next few days, maybe let's see if these if the short interest graph goes up a little bit, and then hopefully that'll give us a little clue as to how we could potentially go lower. But I really like this move here by whoever this trader was. This is obviously a very smart short, and hopefully he comes back to the party. Now, Ethereum is a little bit of a different story. Notice in Bitcoin, we really haven't done a whole lot. We were up here, down here, up here, down here. We know we've been oscillating back and forth in Bitcoin. Ethereum, a much different story. We've been in a very extreme downtrend ever since over here on May when we hit that $800 level. A very aggressive downtrend ever since. Very small bear flag. Not a small bear flag, but a very nice bear flag, actually. Very good bear flag there. Broke down from that. Formed a symmetrical triangle. Subsequently broke down from that. And right now, looks like we have our first major bounce in Ethereum for quite some time. Our last one being right here, probably, what is that, about a month ago? August 14th, a little bit under a month ago. So the buy there over the 174 was your early entry. This was your secondary entry over the break of this trend line right there. Now, as we get higher here, we have already taken out one high. As you can see, I have lines drawn over all of these. This isn't necessarily a swing high right here. This is kind of a very short-term high. This is a much more viable swing high right here. As well as this one, and this one. Now, as we get higher here, these will either prove to be resistance or we will actually break right through them, which would be pretty bullish for the market. And that wouldn't be super out of the ordinary from down here. Something has happened recently in Ethereum versus what really hasn't happened much in Bitcoin is the increase in volume ever since we started breaking down. You see the increase in volume, the average volume staying very high. And as we got lower, you can see the large block volume that we have here above average volume, and with price failing to go lower, that actually does imply there's some bottoming action here, and that's kind of what we were talking about this morning in terms of this rally. So that happened. You're about 8% higher here. It looks pretty good, like we're going to continue for a little bit, but taking the broader term picture into account, Ethereum is still very broken. We do have quite a bit to go though, and still keeping a downtrend. So even from right here all the way up to this breakdown point is about a 46% move. And I mean, we know how aggressive this has been, but putting it in context, we're rallying to the point where we're still bearish as 46%. I think is pretty telling as where we are in this market cycle right now. We're still deep in a bear market. While I do not believe this could be an ultimate low for Ethereum, I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about that. I forgot that I wanted to discuss that actually. So first things first, let's go to the daily chart. So here's a daily chart. This is actually a log scale. The reason I did log scale on this one, I don't pull log scale up very often. And I have to move both of these. So let's talk about this chart. I've got it in log scale here. I really don't pull log up very much. You guys know that. But I believe the percentage drop in each of these legs is more important than the dollar drop. If I take this off of log scale, this does not look like a very aggressive downtrend. But from a percentage perspective, which is in the end really all that matters, it is. I think it looks a little bit better in log scale. You guys may ask yourself, why don't I always do it in log scale? Well, I also think it misrepresents the importance of some moves as we head higher, because as you head higher, things tend to look smaller. It's just the inverse of now. As you move lower, things tend to move smaller. So anyway, sitting on log scale, and keep in mind, we do have a potential target for Ethereum down towards $100. So even if we rally towards here, we could still roll over in the next couple of months. We'll have to wait and see. But being this far down, a bounce is fairly natural. We have a very nice bottoming candle right there on some pretty high volume. We only have 2 candles higher than that. This one right here, you can see puts in the bottom for this consolidation. So if this puts in the bottom for this consolidation, maybe we can rally back up. In fact, if you look at this consolidation, so there was the low. We never really rallied past that little previous high just before the high volume spike. And here's that high volume spike, and it may make sense that we rally and don't quite hit that if this is going to remain very bearish for the longer term. For the shorter term, this is a very nice bottoming candle, and we probably can continue higher through this. Now, from a very long-term perspective, is this a good place to buy Ethereum? Some people are thinking this is a great place to hodl, and to be honest with you, it may be. We are down a tremendous amount from the high. If you guys don't actually know, let's do that work. I mean, to this low here, we're down about 88%. That's a very, very aggressive downtrend. If we were to fulfill this, we'd be down 93%, which would obviously be more aggressive. But, right now, 88% could be a good potential low for Ethereum. And like I said, even if we rally higher and get all the way up to here, you're looking at a 44%. But even if we rally to this third level of resistance, 16%, not really too bad for a trade. So even on the short term, Ethereum is not too bad. On the longer term, as long as we kind of maintain healthy levels, if this does put in a low for Ethereum, I wouldn't be too mad about that. The problem here, this is not really capitulation bottom. This is just it looks like a shorter term bottom. We don't have these really high volume spikes. We've seen huge volumes in Ethereum, and we're just not there yet. Okay, we're just not. I'm on the daily chart if you guys didn't notice, and we're just not there in terms of volume on the daily chart. It's just not that way. This is kind of breakdown volume, and even though we may bounce, like I said, we may be good for a bouncer, but in time it could roll back over again. We've seen Ethereum have some nice bounces at some levels and put in some nice rallies. Here's a nice rally. Well, I guess we just had one really nice rally. This was a consolidation. This is a consolidation. This may just be another consolidation for another leg lower in a few weeks. But like I said, on the shorter term, maybe this is good for some trades going higher. So that's the bigger picture. That's the shorter term picture and the larger term picture in Ethereum. Now, again, on Bitcoin, looking at the volumes here as well, we still don't have that bottoming action that we're talking about. Still don't have capitulation. We still don't have a lot of volume signatures that you would expect as a low ultimately for price action. And so with Ethereum being at lower extremes makes sense for a bounce with that most recent bottoming candle. Bitcoin is a different story. This looks like probably a small bounce from here. Maybe it takes us all the way up here and retests that 6,700 like we said earlier, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But either way, I'm abstaining. There's just too much stuff right here that I really don't want to be involved with, to be honest with you. I think there's some safer trades in Ethereum right now. At least appears to me to be a little bit of a safer trade. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. What do you think about the volume signatures? What do you guys think overall about the price action? Do you think Ethereum is like at an all-time buy down here at $190 currently, or do you think this is just the next step on a way lower? All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time.